The Supreme Court on Thursday, the 26th day of October, dismissed Atiku's appeal challenging the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court (PEPC) on the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the 25th February election. The World Press Conference on the Presidential Election Petition Judgment by Atiku Abubakar, CGON, Waziri Adamawa, former Vice President of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007 and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 election at the PDP headquarters in Abuja on Monday, the 30th October 2023.
Asked me, what would I do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court? In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, I meant that the bigger loss would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury as it has done. If the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost, and the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire, INEC, can tell the public one thing and then do something else in order to reach a corruptly predetermined outcome, then there is really no hope for the country's democracy and electoral process. Obviously, the consequences of those decisions for the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades. I am absolutely sure that history will vindicate me. We now know what the Supreme Court has decided. At critical points in my political life, I always ignored the easy but ignorable path and choosing the difficult but dignified path. The path of truth, of morality, of democracy, and the rule of law.
Atiku Abubakar went down to memory lane where he spoke on an assassination of 9 policemen guarding his home in Kaduna and the confiscation of a co-owned logistics that was given to friends of the military. He spoke on some changes he made during his time as vice president and how those landmark decisions helped to deepen our constitution and rule of law. He addressed the effort he made to ensure Nigerians get a fair presidential judgment.
At the current historic moment, the easier option for me would have been to fall off and retreat after the mandate banditry perpetrated by the APC and INEC. But I went to the Nigerian courts to seek redress. I even went to an American court to help with unraveling what our state institutions charged with such responsibilities were unwilling or unable to do, including unraveling the qualifying academic records of the person sworn in as our president, and by implication, hopefully, who he really is. I offered that evidence, procured with the assistance of the American court to our Supreme Court, to help it do justice in this case. I give this background to underscore that what we are currently dealing with is bigger than 1 or 2 presidential elections, and is certainly bigger than Atiku Abubakar. It is not about me. It is about our country, Nigeria, and your future. It is about the kind of society we want to leave for the next generation and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. It is about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. We showed incontrovertible evidence that Bola Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check on Tinubu's past records in his possession would have shown INEC that Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election in the first place. We showed irrefutable evidence of gross irregularities, violence, and manipulations during the elections. We showed incontrovertible evidence that INEC violated the Electoral Act and deliberately sabotaged its own publicly announced processes and procedures in order to illegally declare Tinubu elected.
He spoke on the rebuke by retired Justice Musa Datijo Mohammed, saying it's a confirmation that all isn't well with the Supreme Court, and said the court shouldn't lend itself to politicization as it's currently the norm with nearly every institution in Nigeria. He further said judges are no longer appointed based on merit, but are products of the interplay of politics and nepotism. In his words, when two critical institutions like the courts and the Electoral Commission are trapped in an evil web of political machination, it becomes next to impossible for democracy to thrive. The purpose of technology in our electoral system is to enhance transparency and not merely as a viewing center. He addressed the implications of PEPC and the Supreme Court's judgments.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me dwell a bit into the implications of PEPC and Supreme Court judgments. I leave Nigerians and the world to decide what to make of the Supreme Court's unfortunate decision. But here is my take. The judgments of the PEPC and the Supreme Court have far-reaching grave implications, including the following. One is the erosion of trust in the electoral system and our democracy. Nigerians witnessed as the National Assembly changed the electoral law to improve transparency in the process. Of particular importance was the introduction of modern technology to help eliminate the recurrent incidents of electoral manipulation, particularly during collation of results. Nigerians and the world also witnessed as the leadership of the INEC, especially its chairman, a National Commissioner for Voter Education, reassured Nigerians on national television multiple times that the use of that technology would be mandatory. Yet, that same INEC undermined the use of that technology during the elections and collation process and declared as winner someone who clearly did not win the presidential election. They then went further to take sides in the courts in a dogfight to defend their illegality. Who would convince the millions of Nigerians to vote in future elections after they suffered endlessly on queues to register to vote, to collect PVCs to vote, based on INEC assurances, only to see their votes stolen and given to someone they did not vote for? When people lose trust and confidence in elections, democracy is practically on life support. And by affirming and legitimizing the continued lack of transparency in our electoral system, the courts are continuing to usurp the rights of voters to elect their leaders. The other grave implication is that contestants in Nigeria's election should do whatever is necessary to be declared winner. That includes identity theft, impersonation, forging of educational and other documents, perjury, and violence. And as they do so, they should ignore whatever the law says and whatever assurances from the leadership of the electoral umpire about what the law says and what they would do in compliance. And they would do so knowing that our courts would approve of their behavior or at best pretend not to take notice of it. The third is that if you are robbed of victory, do not bother going to cause for redress, because your glaring evidence of the robbery will be ignored in favor of the mandate bandit. Yes, because we have seen it. Also, your lawyers, however distinguished and accomplished, may be ridiculed by the judges, who may also go out of their way to make even a stronger case for the so-called winner than even their own lawyers were able to do.
They are not deterred.
Reporting from Nigeria's state capital, Soy Bifa, Jack Rich, Top Accolade News.